deal with pain. Because you feel like something's been robbed from you. And these robbers lurk in sometimes the most unexpected places in our lives. I mean, we can think that these robbers, they do come in great systems. They may come in our government, they may come in Hollywood, they may come in our businesses. But from a personal level, these robbers can come from our families. And they come with significant others like boyfriends and girlfriends. And they can rob us of our joy, and they can rob us of our peace. They can rob us of our love for life and for each other. And many times when we experience that kind of trauma or that hurt because we've been robbed, we are left lying on the side of a road, figuratively, beaten, whipped, half dead, ready to just give up on life. Or just accept that's just the way it is. And that I deserve. And so we're there. And our world is full of victims. But here Jesus begins, and he said, he also states this. He begins to show two examples. Well, three. The first two are of so-called Christians. A priest, or a, quote, pastor, and a Levite. Now, priests were Levites, but the Levites also had other different roles. There were some Levites that within the temple work, they would be the musicians. They would be leading the worship. Or they'd be doing other kind of religious activities. And here you see the exact, almost same response by these two men who were men of God. And it says that the scripture says that it just passed them by. They passed this man by. Who knows why? Maybe they passed them by because they were just busy. Or they were just in a hurry. Or maybe they were just freaked out. I don't know. Maybe they thought they saw this half-beaten dead man. They're like, no. And they were so in shock they didn't know what to do. The scripture doesn't tell us. But they passed him by. I want to ask you this for you to reflect on. Who is in your ditch that maybe we passed by, that you passed by? Who is it that freaked us out? Who says, no, I cannot, I can't even look at this or attend to this? Who may be in our ditch? Is it someone that is not like us, who maybe has a different background? Maybe it's someone that's from a different country, an immigrant. Maybe it's someone that is a different race and ethnicity. Maybe it's someone that we think, oh, that's just horrendous that they're living in that sinful lifestyle. Homosexuality or whatever. Now, I cannot deal with that. So I'm just going to pass them by. Who is in our ditch? And so we need to think about that. And so, because our character and faith is not determined by how well we keep our schedule for God, or how many meetings we attend, or how many positions that we serve, or titles behind our name. Our character is revealed in these sudden choices in life that surprise us. The interruptions of life. Does that make sense? Sometimes our character is most tested when our life becomes interrupted. And there's a need before our faces. And the question is, what do you do? Where's our heart in those moments? For this priest and for this Levite, as they came upon this man, we knew were there was thinking, I'm not going to deal. I'm going to keep going. He's probably dead anyway. So they move on. Because the heart of the issue right here is to act and love like Jesus. And think of it, church, of what our world would be like. What would even our communities be like if we really lived how Jesus taught us in the red letters, in the Gospels? What would that look like? It's beautiful. It's the kingdom of God here. And so you have these two Christians who acted like non-Christians. But see, then the only person that acted like a Christian for us in application was the Samaritan. Now, remember, listeners to this story, not even to this lawyer, but whoever else was standing around, including the disciples, listeners wanted anyone to stop but a Samaritan. I can almost imagine as Jesus was telling the story, and people were like, yes, who's this person going to be? And then out of his mouth comes a Samaritan. They probably lost it in their heads. Because then Jesus makes this a race issue. And he drives it home hard. And see, he says, look, remember Samaritans? Oh, yes, they're your neighbors to the north. Remember, they were the ones that intermarried with the Assyrians. They're considered half-breeds by the Jews. In fact, it was insistent that they were heretics because of how they didn't worship God at the right place. They worshipped on this mountain, and the Jews were like, no, you got to worship in Jerusalem. Great hate between the two. And so we see the penetrating power of a story from the lips of Jesus right here. And he pushes that dagger in. He pushes it in, and he twists it as well. Because this is not just that there's a Samaritan, but what does he do? You see, the Samaritan stops, and he pulls back the covers, And instead of seeing a certain man, a Jew, he saw a human being. He saw a human being that was cut and bleeding to death. And so, church, when we begin to see others as Jesus does, it's hard to pass them by. It says in Scripture sometimes that when Jesus saw the crowds and he would see the people, it says that he would have compassion on them, have pity almost on them, because he saw their needs. He didn't see just their physical needs. He saw their spiritual needs. How desperately they needed him. And they needed a relationship with God. It says here in Scripture that this man, the Samaritan, it says in verse 33, and when he saw him, he had compassion. Compassion is messy. It's extremely messy. You see, the Samaritan knelt beside the wounded man and he bandaged him. He poured oil and wine. The oil was what they use with oil then. That's like an antibiotic. He was attending to his wounds. He was giving him something to drink. He was holding him. He eventually had to lift him up and put him on his donkey. And then he takes him to an inn. You see, it's messy. Compassion is not just an emotional response. It is not some kind of sentimental sap. It is a risky, and it requires something of each of us. It's sacrificial love that goes beyond our strength and comprehension. We can't do it on our own. I think what would help each of us reach out in messy situations is to remember that people, everyone on this planet is created in the image of God. And He loves them. He loves them dearly, and He pursues them relentlessly. There's an old poem called The Hounds of Heaven. You may have heard of it or read it. Look it up sometime. But this poem symbolizes how God pursues us as like bloodhounds going after prey. Relentless. Because He loves us that much, and how desperately He wants to be with us, for us to be with Him, to have that relationship. You see, no matter what the mess that people may be in, no matter what the mess of their lives look like, they are dearly loved by God. You are dearly loved by God. And thus we must act out of compassion, because God loved us first. When we were dead, and we were sinners. It says that the story kind of ends interestingly. Because there, verse 36 and 37, then Jesus kind of wraps this up and He says, He asks him a question. Okay, lawyer, if you really listen to me, what are you getting from this? So which of these three do you think was neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? And then the lawyer said, he who showed mercy on him. I found it very interesting, and maybe that He doesn't call him the Samaritan still. He didn't say the Samaritan story. He said, no, the one who had mercy on him. But then Jesus then says, go and do likewise. So here's basically the conversation that happens between Jesus and the lawyer. You can kind of break it down like this. The lawyer says, let's talk about who is my neighbor. Jesus then says, let's talk about one man. The lawyer says, what is the bare minimum I have to do to get into heaven? And Jesus says, forget about boundaries. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about what it means to love outside of yourself. My love. Agape love. Brothers and sisters, if our beliefs and behaviors fail to result in a deeper expression of our love for God, for others, and ourselves, then something is drastically wrong with our beliefs and behaviors. They have to be re-altered and reprocessed or whatever. We need a reality check. We need a heart check. I want you to turn with me over to 1 John. What a wonderful book. I mean, this is like one of those books, like if you start reading at the beginning, you got to keep going. Might as well just read the whole thing in one swat. We could do that this morning, but I'm not going to do that to you. But it's just so, it's so rich and powerful that I just want to, it was hard to pick out verses. I just wanted to pick out just a few scriptures here about loving God, but about loving one another. In 1 John chapter 3, he says this, and this is His commandment, verse 23, that we should believe on the name of His Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another as He gave us commandment. We know what that commandment is. We just read it in Luke 10. To love the Lord your God with your whole being. To love your neighbor as yourself. And then verse 24, now he who keeps his commandments abides in him, and he in him. And by this we know that he abides in us, by the Spirit whom he has given us. That's how we know that we have a relation with God, is because of the witness of the Spirit at work in our lives. It keeps changing us and pressing us to be more like him. And in chapter 4, 16, and we have known and believed the love that God has for us. God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. Love has been perfected among us in this, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, as Christ, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment. Get that? Stop there for a moment. We are tormented by our fears, aren't we? You're honest with ourselves. But he says that perfect love casts that out. God's love casts that out of our lives. That light dispels that darkness. And so, because of that, but he who fears has not been made perfect in love. We continue to progress in holiness and sanctification as we become more and more like Jesus. His perfect love just begins to just overwhelm us, consume us, and change us, transforms us. And we no longer need to fear, and we fear less, and we feel less. Because he is with us. His love is in us. We love him because he first loved us. If someone says, I love God, in verse 20, and hates his brother, you can even put it, and hates his neighbor, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen, how can he love God whom he has not seen? And this commandment we have from him, that he who loves God must love his brother also. If we do not love our neighbor, we do not love God. And he is God in us. That's just a fact. And John is like punching us in the gut and in the face at the same time here. Love comes from the Father. If we choose to bypass those that we do not want to deal with, and we choose not to have compassion on those around us, then we must question, do we even love God? Are we even with him? Hard stuff to wrestle with. I want to read, as we close, this prayer by St. Francis of Assisi. Listen to this. This is that's actually kind of a famous prayer by St. Francis, but he says this: Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much speak to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born into eternal life. Amen. Church, that we are to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. So the challenge to us is what Jesus said to the lawyer. Now go and do likewise. Let's pray. Father, I pray that this is challenging of what it means to truly love, because it causes us to not just get out of our comfort zone, but it challenges us. It makes us become more like you. And many times we don't want to give up. We don't want to sacrifice. We don't want to surrender. But to be like you, to have a relationship with you, and to love you, we must also love others like you love them. Lord, I pray today that even as we walk out these doors and we get in our cars and we go about our business through today and through this week, that you would instill in each of us a sense of compassion that we have not maybe experienced before for others. Lord, I pray for this in each of our lives and in the life of this church. In your name I pray. Amen.
Please stand and worship with us one last time. As you read the words of the song, it's a traditional song that people know, but there's one part that says, just a few more weary days and then. And I just think about all of the hurt in the world right now, and just seeing that the Lord is faithful to us and that He is going to take care of us and He loves us so much. So just kind of relaying what he said today in his sermon, like just loving other people and loving the world. We have just a few more days left here on this world if you think about it. So yeah, join us in this song. Some glad morning when we saw this world fly away to on God's celestial shore, how far away, oh glory, how far away in the morning, where I'll die, hallelujah, by, how far away. When the shadows of this life have gone, how far away. Like a bird from praise and words and fall, how far away. How far away, oh glory, how far away in the Lord, where I die, hallelujah, by and by, how far away. Just a few more weary days and then how far away to a land where joy will never end, how far away. How far away, oh glory, how far away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, how far away.
Thank you for being here this morning at Mountain View. We, of course, come back, bring other people with you, and let's pray as we go forth. Father, I pray now that we may be empowered, that we may go in your grace and in your love and compassion. May we truly be your hands and your feet to others. Lord, we thank you for your love in our lives. In your name I pray.